Until all of us are safe, none of us are safe from COVID. That statement is a global statement that's never been more true, as we've seen the emergence in the last few days of the Omicron variant of COVID. These mutations are going to continue to happen as long as the disease continues to spread. So if we want to be safe from COVID, if we want COVID to be over so that we can get our borders open, travel again, get our economy moving, get back to whatever normal life is going to be like after this, we need to make sure that we stop the spread of COVID. And until everybody is safe, until that spread is stopped all over the world, none of us are safe. So how do we do that? Well, there are three things that need to be done most importantly. The first is something that we can do, you and I can do personally. We need to make sure that we don't get infected or pass that infection on to other people. Now, your best way to do that is to have natural immunity. That is, to have recovered from already having COVID. But that natural immunity starts to wear off over time. So after about 3 months or so, you need to do the next thing, which is to get vaccinated. So if you don't have natural immunity, you really do need to get vaccinated. Sadly, vaccines are not a perfect solution because while there are many unvaccinated people in the world, you are still exposed to COVID. What vaccines do is reduce your risk of getting COVID, not to zero, but definitely reduces it. It makes sure that if you do get COVID, it's not a bad version and that you recover quickly. In other words, you infect less people even if you do get COVID. So we need to make sure that we get as many people vaccinated as possible and then add to that all the other things we know to do. Wear masks when you're out in public. Yes, even if you are vaccinated, you should do that. Sanitize. Don't go to unnecessary face-to-face meetings. Limit your contact. Sadly, limit your contact with other people still at this stage. Until everybody is safe, nobody is safe, even if you are vaccinated. But getting vaccinated absolutely makes you a lot safer than you would be otherwise. So the first thing we should do is get vaccinated. And for my fellow South Africans, the Solidarity Fund has a fantastic campaign that I am really supporting, and it's a hashtag roll up your sleeves SA and get vaccinated today. That's global and you should do it. Now, the second thing that we need to do is to make sure that rich countries stop hoarding the vaccines. This has been a huge issue over the last year, and poorer countries and developing nations have been shouting about this for the whole of that year, especially South Africa and India in particular. What happened was that when vaccines became available, rich countries basically ordered multiple more doses of the vaccine than they absolutely needed. Canada, for example, ordered nearly 10 times as many vaccine doses as they had population. America ordered about 5 times more. The UK and Europe did very similar things. Just masses of ordering to make sure that they used their money to get to the front of the vaccine queue. Now they've got a whole lot left over and they want us to thank them for being very charitable and generous by sending some of their leftovers to the poorer nations in the world. Well, Omicron is coming back to bite them in the backside for that attitude. We need to make sure that every country in the world has access to vaccines for every citizen in their nations. Those who can't afford to do it do need to be subsidized by the rest of the world for doing that. We don't need rich countries to use their wealth to jump to the front of the queue. We need rich countries to use their wealth to make sure that everybody is safe, because until we're all safe, none of us are safe. So hopefully this is a wake-up call again to the world's rich nations to get involved in making sure that vaccines get to poorer countries and helping us with our communication of the effectiveness, the safety, and the importance of vaccination. So much misinformation is coming out of richer countries who are basically letting their citizens just talk nonsense about vaccine safety and efficiency, and are really muddling up the communications because of ideological battles being waged in richer countries, which honestly is just the privilege of being rich, that you can have those conversations. And these anti-vax conversations have been going on for years and years about measles vaccines and all sorts of things. Really, it's time for rich nations to sort themselves out, because until we are all safe, none of us are safe. And that leads to the third thing that needs to be done, and that is that we have to remove IP protections for the vaccines. Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, AstraZeneca to a lesser extent, you guys have made more money than you need to make already. You've recovered all of the costs of your investment in your research and development, and it's time now for you to release the IP so that we can make these vaccines at a bigger scale and a lower cost. And just by the way, if you're watching this from a rich country, countries like India and South Africa, most countries across Southeast Asia, we have the capability to make these vaccines. It's not as if we're waiting for you to make them for us and then send them to us. We have world-class facilities to be able to make these vaccines. What we need is the permission, the IP permission, to be able to say, here's the formula, and you have permission to go ahead and make these vaccines so that we can do them at cost. Even maybe a tiny little profit back to you so that you can get the benefit of all the investment of time and effort that you've put into it. But we need to release the IP on the vaccines now so that everybody around the world can get the vaccine and get it in a cost-effective way. This is something that rich countries can also do. And it's something that governments in rich countries can get involved in doing. Nobody's going to get hurt by this now. There's more than enough money already being made in the big pharma companies. So get vaccinated. Make sure that rich countries support poor countries in getting the vaccine message out, and release the vaccine IP. That way we can ensure that as soon as possible, as many people as possible are protected against COVID. We stop the spread of COVID. We finish with COVID. That's our way out of this. If we don't do that, we will see more mutations, we will see more variants, and we will be working and living with COVID a lot longer than any of us want to. That's our way out. And Omicron reminds us that we can't just wait for this to end. We've got to take the way out. Let's do it. Let's do it together. Let's do it for each other. Until we are all safe, none of us are safe. And I don't know about you, but I'd like to be safe.